There's a lot of uncertainty with the 2021 Royal Rumble, but also a lot of possible outcomes. We'll talk about it next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. Ralph, we'll start with Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre. A little uncertainty there as we found out Monday that Drew McIntyre tested positive for COVID-19. Luckily, right now he is asymptomatic and he has accepted the challenge of Bill Goldberg for Royal Rumble 2021. But the first uncertainty thing is, does this match actually happen?
Oof, that's probably one of the more difficult things to predict right now, especially considering the timing of all of this. As you mentioned, Drew McIntyre did test positive for COVID-19. Right now, he is not showing symptoms from what he says or what he said last night on Monday Night Raw. The tricky thing is this. What's going to happen in the next coming week, 10 days? How is it going to affect him? We just heard recent news about Nick Jackson testing positive, I think a couple of months ago. And he said it took him a good solid month, I think, to get back into ring shape. So, I think that's probably going to be the biggest thing that's going to determine what's going to happen with this match. What type of shape is Drew McIntyre in? How does this affect him? And can he be ready to go by the Royal Rumble?
Right. I didn't know that Nick Jackson tested positive for COVID. I don't know if that's... I didn't know that. That's breaking news to me.
Apparently, he tested positive. I believe it was several months ago. He was bedridden for 3 weeks, he said. He came back. He worked one match where Matt ended up doing a majority of the work in the ring. And then the next match back was his match against FTR, which we know that ended up being an instant classic. So, but he said it was very grueling. He was bedridden for a while. It took him a very long time to recuperate. And that's the thing. This affects people differently. Right now, Drew McIntyre is saying he's asymptomatic, but it could also be a case where he's pre-symptomatic, where he may not experience any type of symptoms until 3, 4, 5 days from now. All of those things are possible. I think the important thing for him is to obviously to rest up, to get whatever treatment is made available to him, and see where he is at the tail end of this. Because 5 days from now, if he starts to show symptoms and things are a little more complicated for him, no matter what they may be, hopefully they're not severe, and hopefully it's not a case where he has to seek out additional medical help. Let's hope that he truly is asymptomatic and he can hop right back into it. But something as tricky as this, and seeing the way it affects everybody from a minor stint to a more severe type of thing, it's a wide range of different things that people can experience. So hopefully he ends up remaining in a situation that he's in right now.
Yeah, let's hope so. Speedy recovery for Drew McIntyre. I do think the match will happen. I think if he stays asymptomatic, it's definitely going to happen, because they're saying like 10 to 14 days is really like the quarantine time, which right now we're at January 12th. Even at 14 days, that's still 5 days before the Royal Rumble. So he should be okay. The question is whether or not he'll be in like real quote unquote ring shape. But seeing that it is Goldberg here, his matches seem to be short. So say this match does happen. Does this match last longer than 5 minutes at the Royal Rumble?
I say no. I think that if this match actually takes place, I think Drew McIntyre certainly is going to go over. Now, this is WWE. You can't put anything past them. I'm not entertaining the idea that it's entirely implausible that Goldberg can win the championship, because we've seen it happen before. I think Drew McIntyre is certainly a guy that they've been pushing really strongly for over the past year. I can't see in a situation where Goldberg should go over him for any particular reason. How that's going to benefit them heading into WrestleMania, I don't think so. I think Drew McIntyre wins. I think it happens under 5 minutes.
I could definitely see it happening, and the fact that they both have very quick finishers, the Claymore and the Spear, that could happen at any second. We know Goldberg's MO is Spear, Jackhammer, match over. I would love for it to be Goldberg goes for the Spear, McIntyre hits the Claymore, that's it. That would give him such a big boost and a big push, especially for those that are just watching to see Goldberg, that a Claymore knocks him out in one Claymore. But then again, you also have the type of match that Goldberg likes to have, where it's like 4 or 5 finishers, like a video game where like everybody just gets their special move. We saw that with Lesnar. We saw that with Braun Strowman. I could see that likely happening in this scenario too, but The Claymore has been one of the most protective finishers in pro wrestling. So I would not have Goldberg kick out of it. But let's say Goldberg does win or McIntyre retains. Does the loser enter the Royal Rumble? And if does so, win it?
Well, here's the thing I was considering. If Drew McIntyre cannot compete at the Royal Rumble for whatever reason, right? Does Goldberg then enter the Royal Rumble, win it, which hopefully this isn't the case, and then go on to WrestleMania to face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania? I hope that does not happen, but again, we're talking about WWE here. You can't necessarily count anything out, especially if this is a match that they truly want to put on for whatever reason. I mean, Goldberg, as we know, he has a limited amount of dates that he can work. From what was reported, he's got 2 matches that he is contractually obligated to for the remainder of his, I think the remainder of his contract there. Does he enter the Royal Rumble if Drew McIntyre can't go, and does he win, and do we see that as a potential match at WrestleMania? I still don't think so. I don't think that Drew McIntyre is going to lose if this match takes place. I can't see Goldberg entering the Royal Rumble and winning if that's the case if he does lose. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he's already in the building and they're already trying to get enough guys to fill the Rumble, because let's not forget, last year they were actually able to have everything at full capacity. This year is completely different.
Right.
They're going to have X amount of people in the building, at least enough to fill that Rumble. So, you know, rather than bringing in 50 plus guys, do they keep it to like 40 or something like that and say, okay, well, if you're working a match, maybe Goldberg is like a surprise entrant and he ends up working the Rumble as well.
Right. It's not the first time someone loses the championship match and then enters the Royal Rumble. I believe the last time it happened was 2017. Roman Reigns lost the Universal Championship against Kevin Owens. In I think it was a street fight. Braun Strowman interfered, and then Roman Reigns came in at number 30, and everybody booed him. I remember that. That was the year Randy Orton won. And that was, you know, Goldberg was in that one. Brock Lesnar was in that one. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone pulled double duty. I wouldn't be as surprised if McIntyre loses and pulls double duty, because he could win the Royal Rumble to start that chase towards Roman Reigns. We saw the seed planted at Survivor Series. I still have that in my mind that if they have this match with Goldberg, it could be to take the title off of McIntyre, but also to give him the chase against Roman Reigns. I don't think they're going to do like a title unification like some people are saying that could happen. If anything, Goldberg gets the title and then faces the Royal Rumble winner, or actually, no, if McIntyre's winning the Royal Rumble, faces someone else on Raw, maybe like Keith Lee, and then McIntyre chases Roman Reigns. That's the way I see it. But another likely scenario to get the belt off of Drew McIntyre without looking buried is if The Miz cashes in. Do you see The Miz cashing in his Money in the Bank contract where it protects both Goldberg and McIntyre, in a way, to win the WWE Championship or take the pin in any sense in this scenario?
Well, if they're dead set on Roman and Drew McIntyre, which, you know, it's hard to say that there's a bigger main event that can take place this year for guys that are established and have legitimate runs with their championships, then yeah, I think maybe it is a likely possibility that The Miz will end up leaving Royal Rumble with the championship. Now, Goldberg, I don't see him winning. I think that WWE has learned their lesson with Goldberg. They know that if he ends up winning, major backlash from the fans, and I don't think they want that. If they are truly trying to go towards Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, that could be a likely scenario where The Miz ends up cashing in. I mean, let's be honest here. Miz already cashed in unsuccessfully and was able to earn that briefcase back. Why would they put the briefcase back on him unless they felt like he was capable of carrying the championship, even for a short period of time? So I think it's more likely The Miz ends up cashing in successfully, more so than Roman Reigns. More so than Goldberg beating Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, it's definitely a scenario. I know a lot of people, when we talk about this, they're all saying, what about The Miz cashing in? What about The Miz cashing in? I am one that feels like that Money in the Bank contract has been buried, seeing that if you count the unsuccessful cash in with The Miz, it's 3 out of the last 4 years that there's not been a successful cash in. So if they have him cash in here, I would think it would be to be successful. But how do you get it so that he cashes in on either Goldberg or McIntyre without burying either one of them? And you could do a lot of tomfoolery and trickery with John Morrison and whatnot, but I think those two guys, it would look so stupid if they did it. So I actually think The Miz is actually going to hold on to it as close as the expiration date as possible, even past WrestleMania. So I do not see that happening. Now let's flip over to SmackDown, another match that sparked a lot of conversation in the IWC, Twitter, and whatever. Adam Pearce versus Roman Reigns. We talked about it on our last episode here. We got a little heated. I think some people were jumping the gun at this. I believe that this match actually isn't happening as is. Do you agree with me on that?
I think I do. Yeah, I got to say there's got to be some type of swerve, whether it's Kevin Owens or Shinsuke Nakamura, that's going to end up taking Adam Pearce's place.
Yeah, I agree. But the question is it going to be Shinsuke or Kevin Owens? We'll start with Shinsuke. Do you think it's going to be Shinsuke Nakamura after that great performance in the gauntlet match? I know some people were tweeting things like Nakamura deserves better or Nakamania. Do you see this leading to his build to a championship match at Royal Rumble?
I do. Here's the problem, that every year WWE gets themselves into this situation where there's that one guy that gets really hot right around Royal Rumble, WrestleMania time, that they never really anticipate getting hot. This could have been the thing similar to what happened with Kofi. I think it was last year.
2019.
Okay, 2009. Yeah, you're right. Because I'm sorry, last year was the year where they didn't have fans. The year before, where we were actually there for this.
Right.
When Kofi got hit, Kofi got hot coming right out of I believe it was the gauntlet match as well. And fans really were pushing for that Kofi Mania thing. Now, I think that the plans for Roman are going to lead to one of two things. One, Kevin Owens, which again, I don't think they really anticipated him getting as hot as he was, especially with that in that feud with Roman, and it just worked. So they can always revisit that and have that be one of their main events for the championship belt between those two. Or they could revisit Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. It's going to be difficult because if you put Nakamura in that spot and the fans really push for it, assuming he loses, the fans are still going to want to see him main event at WrestleMania, I would think.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're going to be able to deliver because I think they have plans in place for Kevin Owens.
I think they do too, but you also can you could do a couple little things here with Kevin Owens. Now, they already have the injury in place, so you can have him be a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble and win it, or you do something down the line. Let's say Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble, and then Kevin Owens, comes back and says, I'm still here, and they make it a triple threat, or Shinsuke Nakamura makes it a fatal four-way. And even if Roman Reigns still retains against those three, it gives those three a WrestleMania main event. Roman looks strong beating three other guys. It's a great way. And they could make it so that all four guys look good at that WrestleMania. I do think it's going to be Shinsuke taking the place of Adam Pearce here, but Kevin Owens could still be playing into this. Do you see any way Kevin Owens is inserted or added or replaces Adam Pearce in this match?
I don't think so. I think that he's going to be, if he's going to be at the Royal Rumble, he'll be a surprise entrant, end up winning, and then facing Roman at WrestleMania. But given the way this story has played out to this point, and they still have a couple more weeks to go, it's almost like, do you see Adam Pearce winning? No, not realistically. But again, this is WWE. Does Kevin Owens get his revenge by costing Roman the match, either against Pearce or Nakamura, if Nakamura ends up being in that match? I want to say no, but at the same time, it is WWE, and I can't say no yet. So
if something happened where Kevin Owens interferes, like he surprises everybody, interferes with Roman Reigns, and helps whoever the opponent is, whether that's Shinsuke or Adam Pearce, do you think the fans actually would would social media go crazy in a good way that Shinsuke wins the title off of Roman?
Shinsuke, yeah, I think the fans would be fine with that. Timing wise, I don't think that Roman chasing the title, I think, is not as good for business as him being the top guy and looking like the tribal chief that he's proclaimed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better off with him being the champion.
True, but you always, even with the heel like Roman is, you still need something to go against him. Like somehow his plan gets foiled and he has to develop a whole new plan. If he just keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's going to get boring and repetitive. If you swerve people and say Kevin Owens comes back and interferes, it could make an interesting dynamic to the story. But I'm with you. I think, in the end, I think it might be a little too early to jump that gun and get the title off of Roman Reigns. But do we have it so that this match ends up being some form of multi-man, whether that's Pearce and Shinsuke and Kevin Owens, or is it going to be one-on-one?
I think it's going to be one-on-one. I really do. I don't think that we're going to get like a multi-man match. I think that if anything, Kevin Owens will show up and try to cost Roman Reigns the match, maybe successfully, maybe unsuccessfully. Or even Nakamura. But I think that for what they've done with Roman, he needs to continue what he's been doing, looking strong going into WrestleMania. And I think that if you start to add multiple people to that match and, try to make it more convoluted and it just won't work out for the long-term story of it.
If the match happens as planned with Adam Pearce, will it be a squash match?
Squash in the sense that Adam Pearce won't get as much offense in.
No, I mean no offense, no offense whatsoever. It's a one-sided beat down, whether that's a 2-minute, whether that's a 5-minute, whether that's a 10-minute. Adam Pearce gets no offense in. He just gets thrown around.
Yeah, if there is no outside interference from Nakamura or Kevin Owens, I think, yes, Adam Pearce just gets thrown around and it's a squash. I definitely don't think this is going to be a competitive match like we saw with Adam Cole and Pat McAfee, for example. I don't think we're going to get that.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if something were to happen and Roman gets distracted and Adam Pearce just, gets a quick one in and that gets him to a little flurry of offense. I wouldn't be surprised at that because for those that don't realize, Adam Pearce is a trained professional wrestler, a 5-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Now, I don't know if they're going to play that into the story. I know Adam Pearce has posted some of his old matches on Twitter, and if you follow him on Twitter, you could find them. And I know Heyman hinted at it on SmackDown this week that he had, the Scrap Daddy gimmick. So I think they might play this in here. Like, don't catch him off guard or don't play him, easy because he is a former wrestler and a former world's champion. So only time will tell. There's a lot of possibilities. Let us know what your possibilities are in the comments below. And don't forget to share us all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPV Podcast. We'll talk to you on the next episode of the Squared Circle Psychobabble.